Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the LBJ Ranch, and I hope you enjoy your stay and can bring the temperature up a little while you're here. I have today sent the following telegram to Honorable George Wallace, Governor of Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama. Responsibility for maintaining law and order in our federal system properly rests with the state and local government. On the basis of your public statements and your discussions with me, I thought that you felt strongly about this and had indicated that you would take all the necessary action in this regard. I was surprised, therefore, when in your telegram of Thursday, you requested federal assistance in the performance of such fundamental state duties. Even more surprising was your telegram of yesterday, stating that both you and the Alabama legislature, because of monetary considerations, believe that the state is unable to protect American citizens and to maintain peace and order in a responsible manner without federal forces. Because the court order must be obeyed and the rights of all American citizens must be protected, I intend to meet your request by providing federal assistance to perform normal police functions. I'm calling into federal service selected units of the Alabama National Guard, and also will have available police units from the regular Army to help you meet your state responsibilities. These forces should be adequate to assure the rights of American citizens pursuant to a federal court order to walk peaceably and safely without injury or loss of life from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. Signed, Lyndon B. Johnson. It is not a welcome duty for the federal government to ever assume a state's government's own responsibility for assuring the protection of citizens in the exercise of their constitutional rights. It has been rare in our history for the governor and the legislature of a sovereign state to decline to exercise their responsibility and to request that duty be assumed by the federal government. Governor Wallace and the legislature of the state of Alabama have now done this. I have responded both to their request and to what I believe is the sure and the certain duty of the federal government and the protection of constitutional rights of all American citizens. I have called selected elements of the Alabama National Guard into federal service. Additionally, I have military police put in position at both Selma and Montgomery, Alabama. In addition, we have federal marshals, FBI agents on duty in that area at this time. Last evening, I dispatched Deputy Attorney General Ramsey Clark to the scene to coordinate all the national government's activities. He is assisted by the very able Burt Marshall and John Doerr and some other dozen able lawyers from the Department of Justice. Over the next several days, the eyes of the nation will be upon Alabama, and the eyes of the world will be upon America. It is my prayer, a prayer in which I hope all Americans will join me earnestly today, that the march in Alabama may proceed in a manner honoring our heritage and honoring all for which America stands. May this, the conduct of all Americans, demonstrate beyond dispute that the true strength of America lies not in arms and not in force, and not in the might of the military or in the police, nor in the multitudes of marshals and state troopers, but in respect and obedience to law itself. In other times, a great president, President Abraham Lincoln, said that he was confident that we would be touched by the better angels of our nature. That is my hope for you and my expectation of all of you and my prayer to all of you today. A nation is molded by the tests that its peoples meet and master. I believe that from the test of these days, we shall emerge as a stronger nation, as a more united people, and a more just and decent society. I'll now pass to another subject, Vietnam. I want to announce this morning that Ambassador Maxwell Taylor will shortly resume his periodic visits to Washington for consultations on the Vietnam situation. He will return to Washington on March 28th and will remain approximately a week. There are no immediate issues which make the meeting urgent. It is a regular, periodic visit, part of our continuous consultation to make sure that our effort in Vietnam is as effective and as efficient as possible. Let me say this additionally on Vietnam. 1 year ago this week, on March the 1st, 1964, I made this statement, and I quote, "For 10 years, under 3 presidents, this nation has been determined to help a brave people to resist aggression and terror. It is, and it will remain, the policy of the United States to furnish assistance to support South Vietnam for as long as is required to bring communist aggression and terrorism under control." Our policy in Vietnam is the same as it was 1 year ago. And to those of you who have inquiries on the subject, it is the same as it was 10 years ago. I have publicly stated it. I have reviewed it to the Congress in joint sessions. I have reviewed it in various messages to the Congress, and I have talked individually with more than 500 of them stating the policy and asking and answering questions on that subject in the last 60 days. In addition, I have stated this policy to the press and to the public in almost every state in the Union. Specifically, last night, I read where I made the policy statement 47 times. Well, I want to repeat it again this morning for your information and for emphasis. Under this policy, changes in the situation may require, from time to time, changes in tactics, in strategy, in equipment, in personnel. As I said last month, the continuing actions we take will be those that are justified and made necessary by the continuing aggression of others. These aggressors serve no peaceful interest, not even their own. No one threatens their regime. There is no intent or desire to conquer them or to occupy their land. What is wanted is simply that they carry out their agreements, that they end their aggression against their neighbors. The real goal of all of us in Southeast Asia must be the peaceful progress of the people of that area. They have the right to live side by side in peace and independence. And if this little country does not have that right, then the question is, what will happen to the other 100 little countries who want to preserve that right? They have a right to build a new sense of community among themselves. They have a right to join, with help from others, in the full development of their own resources for their own benefit. They have a right to live together without fear or oppression or domination from any quarter of this entire globe. So this is the peace for which the United States of America works today. This is the peace which aggression from the North today prevents. This is the peace which will remain the steadfast goal of the United States of America. On Monday, I shall have been in the presidential office for 16 months. Whatever the accomplishment of this period, no one knows better than I how much credit is due the ability and the integrity and the outstanding quality of the men and women who serve the executive branch. We have between 3 and 4 million people working in the military and in the civilian services. I believe the quality of talent and capacity in the top positions of the federal government and in the other positions as well is without parallel in modern times. This high level of quality is going to be maintained. I am determined that the American people shall be served by the very best talent available, chosen on the basis of principles and performance, not politics or speculation. Since November 1963, I've made a total of 163 major appointments through today. Of the 135 non-judicial appointments, almost exactly half, 49%, have been purely merit appointments made from the career services of the government or other government background. 14% additionally have come from university careers, 16% from business and labor, 19% from the legal profession. And I would like to add they have included both Republicans and Democrats. This week I was privileged to announce the appointment of former Undersecretary Henry Fowler to succeed Douglas Dillon in the cabinet as Secretary of the Treasury. Today, Mr. John Macy has brought to the ranch 7 outstanding men, and I am nominating them to serve in positions of major responsibility. The press will receive detailed biographical information on each. I want to announce their appointments and present these gentlemen to you this morning. For the position of Federal Co-Chairman of the Appalachian Commission established by the act that I signed just a week ago, I've selected Mr. John L. Sweeney of Michigan. This outstanding young man served as the chairman of the Federal Development Planning Committee for Appalachia with great distinction and was a key figure in the developing the program that he will now administer. Next, on the Federal Power Commission, I am reappointing a public servant from the state of Vermont who has demonstrated his commitment to the public interest, Mr. Charles R. Ross of Vermont. To fill the vacancy on the Federal Power Commission, I am nominating an outstanding Republican attorney from the state of Illinois, a Phi Beta Kappa, a lecturer in universities abroad, a leader in young Republican activities, who is presently serving as the General Counsel of the Santa Fe Railroad, Mr. Carl E. Baggy. On the Civil Aeronautics Board, I am making a merit appointment of a career public servant who has served as chief of the CAB's 3 major operating divisions, Mr. John G. Adams of South Dakota. On the National Labor Relations Board, I am proud to announce the nomination of a former member of the working press, a registered Republican, who has served for 10 years as administrative assistant to the Republican senior senator from New Jersey, Mr. Clifford Clay. He is Mr. Sam Zagoria of New Jersey. For the position of Undersecretary of the Army, I am nominating an honor graduate of Yale University and the Yale Law School, a Silver Star Army veteran of World War II, a member of the New York Young Republicans, and now a member of a major New York law firm, Mr. Stanley Rizzo. I'm very proud of these citizens, and I'm grateful for their unselfishness. I wish to announce now the last appointment, Mr. Howard Woods of St. Louis, Missouri, to be the Associate Director of the United States Information Agency. Mr. Woods is a worthy journalist. He will be one of 2 associate directors for this very important agency. He will have special responsibility for planning USIA activities in underdeveloped countries, particularly those that are trying to build their communication systems so as to increase the contact of these governments with their people. As you may know, Mr. Woods has been the reporter, the columnist, the city editor, the publisher of the St. Louis Argus, St. Louis, Missouri. Mr. Carl T. Rowan, the director of USIA, has told me that he is increasingly, substantially USIA activities in countries such as Vietnam, which are caught up in the new style of communist aggression. Mr. Woods will join us to help plan and direct this broadened program. So this morning, the scorecard is 3 Republicans, 3 Democrats, and 1 independent. And finally, because of the very considerable interest and discussion concerning the President's press policies, I want to give you some idea of what you may plan and what you may expect in the days to come. First of all, I regard my own responsibility in this field as making available to all of you all of the information that I can consistent with the national interest on as fair and as equitable a basis as possible. How and where I do that is a decision that I reserve for myself, and I shall continue to reserve for myself. Second, I consider it the responsibility of the press to report those facts to the American public as fully and as possible and in the best perceptive possible. The press, of course, also has the right and has the duty to comment on the facts in any way that it sees fit. But that is a right and not a responsibility. And therefore, I plan to see the press at many different times in many different ways, if you're willing. I will, however, try to follow the standing practice of holding at least 1 press conference a month of the nature which you describe as ample advance notice, coverage by all media, full dress, even white ties if you choose. I do not intend to restrict myself to this as the sole form of seeing the press, but I will try to state it as a very minimum. Today marks the 39th on-the-record press conference that I have held. 18 off the record are a total of 57. I have had 18 press conferences with adequate advance notice, 16 covered by radio and television. 8 of these were live television, in addition to 3 live television joint sessions in the little over the year that I've been president. There have been other occasions upon which I have seen the White House press corps on an informal basis in order to give them some insight into my thinking. In addition to these 56 formal meetings, I've had 9 informal, lengthy walks with the White House press corps. Some of you who used to enjoy those walks when they were scheduled a little earlier with President Truman. And from time to time, those of you that do enjoy them will be invited back again. On various occasions, I've had conferences with pools representing the White House press. We had 173 airplane flights with pools where they were visited, 2 pool visits while I was in the hospital with a bad cold, and 1 pool visit in my bedroom in the executive mansion when I thought I was recuperating from it. I've had additional visits from 374 accredited press representatives at their request. In addition, 64 who requested meeting at bureau chiefs, plus 200 telephone discussions that I have responded to. There have been 9 other occasions where I have met with the press, ranging from a barbecue at the ranch to addresses made to the American Society of Newspaper Editors, the Associated Press Luncheon, and, of course, last year, each one of the social affairs, the White House press conference, and Gridiron, and so forth, that numbered, I believe, 8. I have had 9 special appearances, ranging from a TV interview with all 3 networks to special statements concerning Vietnam and the railroad strike. A considerable amount of my time has been spent with the press in this effort to discharge what I consider to be the President's responsibility to this country. I think that it is necessary to do this because the press is the media through which the American people are informed. And as I said, I intend to continue to bring them all the information that is possible and to see that every cabinet officer and every head of independent agency does the same thing. And so far as the President's concerned, I will continue seeing the press at different times, different places, in different ways of my own choosing.